They travel at speeds pushing 200 miles per hour. The very best drivers in the world putting their lives on the line every week. It's time to get the lowdown on this week's contenders, plus a look at the key driver matchups. Right now on Gaughan Racin.
And welcome everybody to Gaughan Racin. Brendan Gaughan, Mr. Jeffrey Motley here at the fabulous VSiN studio at the South Point today. And Jeff, and extremely enjoyable to watch. Brickyard 400.
It was kind of a crazy Brickyard 400.
Dude,
I saw some hard crashes.
Oh God!
Saw some incredibly good racing, and saw some unfortunate turn of events. And if you were a bettor that had a ticket on Denny Hamlin, you were
and we some of us in the picks last week had a Denny Hamlin to win. Somebody had both. To win. Yep. So he was hedging and still got one of them. But man, did he hit hard?
Denny hit hard, but I tell you, Eric Jones.
Eric Jones hit hard.
About as hard. That was a really, really hard hit that Eric Jones hit.
And a crazy bind up on pit road. So for the folks at home, I know this isn't the betting stuff yet, but the pit road at the Brickyard. You think of the Brickyard, it's this big, massive place, right? The pit road is like that big.
Pit road is like trying to get into your 2-car garage when you built cabinets on both sides of it.
Yeah, you got a dually and you're trying to pull into that is the tightest freaking garage pit road in the sport, and an amazing turn of events on pit road. Look, we've been doing this a long time.
Kudos to Jeff Burton on NBC, who had actually just talked about how treacherous pit road was, and I mean, seconds later we had mass chaos on pit road,
and it was too. It took out Justin Allgaier, aka Jimmy Johnson, took out Ryan Blaney, took out a whole bunch of guys,
including one of Ryan Blaney's crew guys too, who ended up getting a broken leg and
now
going to be out for a while.
I've talked to Jeffrey Thousand from Penske. They said he's okay. Yes, he has a broken leg, but he is okay. And in typical pit crew fashion, gave the big thumbs up. No crowd there. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Cameras are still rolling.
Cameras were on, so he knew his wife was probably kids were watching on TV.
He knew his mother, his father, his wife. Somebody was watching that, and he gave the thumbs up. Make sure that you knew he was okay.
I think Corey LaJoy was taken out in that.
And you know what's funny is I'm looking at something here though, Jeff, and I've never seen this. I wanted to ask you about this. On the official results of the race, you know how they list what you dropped out of the race from? So you have, accident,
engine failure, transmission. Okay.
What is DVP?
Who got a DVP?
3 people. Ricky Stenhouse, Brennan Poole, and Ryan Blaney.
DVP.
Yeah, I don't know what a DVP. I've been doing this basically my entire adult life. I've been racing NASCAR, and DVP is the reason for out.
So it's damaged vehicle policy. It's failure to meet up to speed and for black flag.
See, that's
and welcome back to Isaiah.
Isaiah is back.
For those that don't know, Isaiah was our producer early in the year, and then he started beating us, and he met with unfortunate circumstances.
We sent him to the hospital.
So Karina, as many may know, she might have beat us last weekend,
and she's not here.
She's not here. She's still walking. She's okay. She's downstairs.
As far as we know, that nobody needs to send flowers or anything right now.
But that's why
fruit basket.
Isaiah is now back with us. And Isaiah come through clutch right there at the damaged vehicle policy.
Damaged vehicle policy. Okay.
Wow.
Karina will accept
failed
flowers
on the 5-minute clock.
That's
she will accept them. Still.
That's why I didn't know what that was, because that's new. I've never seen that on the deal. So 3 guys on the damaged vehicle policy.
Wow, it's nice to learn something new.
I know, that's pretty funny. Learn something new on the sport.
Exactly.
Amazing race, though. But let's talk. One, we talked about Pocono and Indy being so alike. 2 favorites, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick.
Who are the 2 best guys?
Crushing
Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick.
And if Denny Hamlin doesn't blow a right front tire, who knows?
And it's funny. I did the Edge with Jonathan Von Tobel earlier in the day on Thursday, and one thing we talked about is this is the equivalent of the bad beat in other sports. If you had a ticket on Denny Hamlin,
you're watching him lead the thing, 5-second lead. You're
he's
like,
going to win unless there is a caution. Or him being the caution, I guess, as it turned out.
And that was him being the caution.
And maybe Harvick thought he was pushing Hamlin to wear his tires out a bit, but truth be told, Harvick wasn't close enough to him to really push him.
No, Rodney Childers said keep pressure on him, keep pressure on him. They talked about that. That pressure was like...
Yeah, exactly. If he was putting pressure on Denny, then he was wearing his own tires out.
He was in downtown Indianapolis while he was putting pressure on.
I think Denny was certainly the best car at Indianapolis. I think Harvick certainly had the second best
But
car, and you probably want to talk about the guy that finished second.
No.
Or the guy that finished third.
There you go.
Two guys. Matt Kenseth finished second, by the way.
Now, look at what he did at Pocono. We said Pocono, resurgence, Matt Kenseth feeling good, same car, a 10th and 11th place finish at Pocono. What's he do? He comes out and almost wins his first ever Brickyard after he comes out of retirement.
Wouldn't that have been amazing?
So crushing for him right there. But ARIC Almirola, the guy we said is one of the hottest in the sport.
5 straight top 5s. 3 of those have been top 3s.
There's not much you can say right now except ARIC Almirola, he has not won, but he is hot.
He's done everything but win them. I know he hadn't finished second either, but I mean, every week he's right there.
Every week he's there. And you end up with a Cole Custer sighting.
Cole Custer, best run for his career, I believe.
So you have Kevin Harvick winning from Stewart-Haas Racing. You have ARIC Almirola third. You have Cole Custer 5th. And then you have to go all the way down to, Clint Boyer had some issues. I believe he got caught up on the pit road thing. Let's look. He's not damaged vehicle policy.
It was a good run for the Stewart-Haas team. I don't remember exactly what happened to Boyer, but he had some problem.
But Stewart-Haas showing once again they are one of the dominant organizations. This week we're going to talk about Joe Gibbs has always been the dominant organization, but notice the name that is conspicuously absent from the top 5, Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch does not have a playoff point yet.
That's unbelievable to me.
All right, and we're getting ready to go to a track where he has 2 wins. He really will tell you he probably should at least have 3 because he should have beaten his brother last year. At least I'm sure in his mind he thinks he should have beaten his brother to finish. If Kyle Busch does not do well this weekend at Kentucky, do we start getting concerned about his playoff chances? Once
again, like we had Kevin Harvick last year. He is finishing 7th, 5th, 4th,
but he has
6th,
no playoff points. But Kevin started winning races in July and August last year.
I would kill to have that slump.
No, I understand it. But when we talked about Kevin being in a slump last year, then Kevin started winning. And Kevin started building those playoff points.
He did.
Kyle's not even winning stages.
No, he's not. He's not definitely the Kyle Busch that we have seen so dominant.
And Denny has been so good. And even, honestly, the 2 races at Pocono and at Indianapolis, Martin Truex Jr. was nowhere to be found either.
Nope. They're definitely fading on those 2. Erik Jones, remember, I was high on Erik Jones. And at Pocono, he got wrecked the first day, and the second day was in the top 5. So it was like, okay, Erik Jones. And I said, Brickyard, going to be good.
Had a really good car.
He was great. Blew a tire.
The right front.
And he's also really good at Kentucky. So and Christopher Bell ran good. So I still think that the Joe Gibbs team is, there. But right now, Stewart-Haas definitely is pulling away a little bit. And a few other fun names, though, Jeff. Michael McDowell again. We keep saying, now, for bettors, you're not getting a lot for him because he's not winning or top 3s. But if you have a top 10 bet, if you have your group matchup, Michael McDowell is right now cashing tickets. And Tyler Reddick again. Now, you had Austin Dillon running really well on him. Matt DiBenedetto got in their last lap thing. But Tyler Reddick and Michael McDowell, another top 5, and Bubba Wallace, another top 5.
Yeah,
top 10, sorry.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace running really well. And I tell you, other great thing for Bubba Wallace, by the way, it sounds like he has got a huge lead in the fan vote for the All-Star.
I don't think there's any
All-Star race.
There's definitely no deal. Brickyard 400 results. You have Kevin Harvick, of course, plus 400 to win. Top 3, he was a plus 115. He was the favorite. 16-1 for Matt Kenseth. 10-1 for ARIC Almirola. Great returns on those guys. Kevin Harvick, his results, if you had him to win 400, top 3, 115. 205 to win Group A. Over Kyle Busch, he was a minus. Over Denny Hamlin, he was a minus. And over Truex, he was a minus. Heavy minus, too. 145, 145, and 185, which that is what he really should have been.
No, I think those were definitely fair numbers. And I mean, look. Right now, betting Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, I mean, you really can't go wrong.
You're not going to go, and I think that trend will continue this week.
And it's going to be interesting. And we'll talk about Kentucky a little bit later on in the show. But
let's get to some of the other NASCAR news things. First, as we noticed, Jimmy Johnson was not at the racetrack last weekend. Bummer for him. His last Brickyard 400. He did end up with the coronavirus. Spoke to him a few times. It's Jimmy. And he has already been cleared to race. Had 2 negative tests Monday and Tuesday.
Well, it makes you wonder, how long did he have it?
He had it for a couple weeks.
Or did he get a false positive?
No, because his wife also had it.
Well,
I think that he had it longer than he knew.
So theoretically, he had it at Pocono. So
possibly. It very well could be. But
I think if you're a competitor, you're confused by this a little bit.
Well, I mean, no, I'm not confused by it. I just go, look, Jimmy followed the protocols. I think that NASCAR's protocols worked completely perfectly in this case, which is Jimmy has no contact with the team until he gets to pit road, gets in his race car, and then really has no contact except for his interior guy putting his his Parker pumper hose on his head. So I think that protocols are working. Kudos to NASCAR on that, and we will see Jimmy back this week at Kentucky. Doesn't mean I'm going to bet him, but just saying, he's back.
He's back, and I think, for him, I mean, it's good. Look, we need Jimmy Johnson competing this year. It's his final season.
We used to say this about Dale Jr., remember? We need Dale Jr. to do well. I do believe we need Jimmy Johnson to do well.
I don't think it hurts anymore. I mean, I think there was probably a time when people was saying anybody but the 48, but I don't think that's the feelings right now.
Not anymore. I don't think it is anymore.
And I felt bad for Justin Allgaier. He really didn't even get an opportunity to shine because that pile up on pit road.
And he saw a hole too. If you watched the race, you saw he saw a hole. He tried to squirt through it.
Pit road at Indy. If you see a hole, you should just stop.
He tried to get through it
from behind.
I think it was Brendan Poole ended up getting hit. He hit him into Ryan Blaney's rear tire changer. It was just, I felt so bad for him. Other cool news: NASCAR has announced the entire rest of the regular season. As a race fan, Jeff, wow.
There's some wow factor.
This weekend is a wow.
Well, this weekend there's going to be a lot of racing at Kentucky. There's like a couple of Xfinity races, a truck race, an ARCA race, and then a cup race. And then we're going to see the schedule get a little bit strange for a while. We're going to have an all-star race on Wednesday night, and then after the Sunday race at Texas, and we're going to do a Thursday night in Kansas, and then not run on a Sunday, and then we're going to get back into the August schedule. And we've got doubleheader scheduled at both Dover and at Michigan.
And at Kentucky this week.
Well, no, there's no Cup doubleheader.
No, Xfinity doubleheader.
But there's going to be a Cup doubleheader.
What was it?
Cup doubleheaders at Dover and Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Because we missed the early Michigan and Dover races. But the big one up here, the big one, is that because of the state of New York's 14-day quarantine on people coming from certain states, and North Carolina being one of those, the NASCAR teams were not granted a waiver by the state of New York to go race at Watkins Glen. So they're going to move that race to the road course at Daytona.
Awesome.
Where the Cup cars have never been on that track. Several of the drivers have competed in the Rolex 24 or the 24 Hours of Daytona down there, but it's going to be a little different.
The question is, what team puts A.J. Allmendinger in a car first?
Boy, I tell you, I think you're also going to probably look at some of those sports car aces like a Wayne Taylor and some people like that.
Andy Lally, immediately to me, Andy Lally comes to mind.
Andy Lally is another guy down there. I agree with you on A.J. Allmendinger, but I think A.J. Allmendinger would have probably been in somebody's car if it was at Watkins Glen.
He was probably going to be in somebody's. They'll move it there. I know I already made a few phone calls trying to maybe get in a couple race cars for that weekend. I mean, come on. I love that track. I've won the Rolex. And I would love to go back there in a stock car. I mean, heck, I don't care if it's a West car, a truck, an Xfinity car. I don't care what it is. So that's going to be a heck of a weekend, though. You're going to have ARCA race Friday. You're going to have Xfinity race Saturday. And then you're going to have a doubleheader with truck and Cup on Sunday. So once again, as a race fan, wow.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really, really interesting. I saw somebody said that they should run it at night with headlights, but I don't think that would be the greatest television product that you could put. I think, a 24-hour race.
Try to put headlights in our race car.
Well, I understand. A 24-hour race is one thing because you're running in the daytime and the nighttime and then back into the daytime. You're not just going to run I don't know how long that race is going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be like a 200-mile race or something kind of similar to Sonoma.
When you run the 24-hour, TV coverage from 11 p.m. to like 6, 7 a.m. Not all that vital.
No, I would agree with you. No, I don't think that's going to be an option. But I'm just kind of curious to see it. It's like, I'm wondering, is there even going to be a stock car test? Is anybody going to go down there and run a car?
I heard they were going to have a test session, brief test session to get the guys on the track. I listened to Larry McReynolds today, and I'll throw a little shade on Larry McReynolds. He always hates racing in the rain and stock cars, which, as you know, Jeff, I am the exact opposite.
I was going to say, you used to do rain dances before.
Oh, dude, I used to love it when they say rain. And, of course, Daytona in August, pretty good chance you're going to have a thunderstorm at some point.
Definitely late in the afternoon. And with all these, we've been having all these, like, 3 o'clock local time starts, so 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
You could see, that could be for bettors. That could be one of the most fun races of the year when it comes to bettors and watching for rain and looking for some interlopers that might show up, looking at guys that Kyle Busch has some experience, Jimmy Johnson has some experience on that road course. I was joking with somebody the other day, though. Yeah, our experience, though, in the race cars that we drove, on the back straightaway, you have what's called the bus stop at Daytona, of course.
Right.
And the race cars that we've driven, like in an LMP car or a DP car, you get to the 100 marker and you hit the gas and you can make that bus stop. If you try that in a stock car, you'll end up at the airport. So that's 7. They have a 500 marker as their furthest back.
So do you don't think that the sports car experience that guys like Kyle or Kurt or Jimmy and some of those guys will really even do them that much good?
No, I think it will do. I think it'll do them a lot of good.
Because there's part of me thinks that can make it go the other way if they think it's going to handle like a sports car.
It can go the opposite, and that was my point. Is if we try to get to that one marker, that's not going to play well. But it will give us an advantage. We know already where our visual reference points are. We do know where we want to put the race car. You do know where you want things, so you will still have a betting advantage looking at guys with experience. But at the same time, the driver's going to have to say, "Oh yeah, 100 foot no, 700 foot yes."
Yeah, and look, to me, these are the best racers in the world, and they will adapt. They will figure it out.
They'll make it.
If they don't get a practice session in, turn one might be interesting, but that's a whole another story for another day. But
how many times have we had interesting turn ones this year?
By the way, speaking of road courses, and we saw, I'll tell you, I saw maybe one of the most incredible Xfinity Series races I've ever seen in my life on Saturday on the road course at Indianapolis.
It was another.
If you saw the last lap of the race and you had 4 cars all over top of each other on the last lap, you think there's any thoughts that they would put the Cup cars on that road course?
They've been talking about it for years, and we all know the guy that now runs the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is a guy.
Your old boss.
We're familiar with him. The captain. He is not afraid to make bold moves. So that went so well. I think we could see in the future at least Xfinity in the immediate term, maybe down the road even a Cup on that road course.
Well, and I thought it was pretty cool and exciting to see the Indy cars there with the Cup cars, even though they were on opposite days. And I think we might see a couple more of those before it's all said and done. I
definitely think we will.
I think we might even see one maybe at Texas at some point, but I think that's pretty cool.
Now, one more last bit of racing news. All-Star race format was announced. So the Bristol now All-Star race, not in Charlotte, as the race fans might know that are familiar with our sport. $1 million, no points.
And that race is going to be Wednesday night, so it will be before we have another show after this one.
Yep, so we will not be talking about it. And a lot of places booking that one. If you're asking me, don't bet on the All-Star race. That thing is volatile right there because people, especially at Bristol, I see a lot of paybacks. Open format this year is going to be 35 laps for stage 1, 35 laps for stage 2. And how about this? 15 laps, Mr. Jeff Motley, for the final stage in the open. And in the 4th stage of the main event, 15 laps at Bristol.
Yeah, but the important thing is this. Now, NASCAR has said that when we get to the All-Star race, those 55, 35, 35, those first 3 segments, they will count their caution laps.
No cautions.
No caution laps in those last 15, and the race must finish under green.
So even if we get the white flag, we're still going to go under green. That's going to be tough.
That is the way that but I don't know. My guess is if they throw the white flag, the only flag that will follow it is the checkered unless somebody's upside down on fire.
No, they're saying they're going to throw the caution. Listen, I love it. I think it's going to be really cool to see it at Bristol at somewhere. Look, Charlotte notwithstanding, we've talked for years about should we move the All-Star race some places. I think that's a great, because of circumstances, it worked out. But I think it's a phenomenal place to take it. I think that SMI and Bruton Smith, or Marcus Smith, great decision. NASCAR, kudos to say, hey, let's go still have it. I mean, you could have just canceled the All-Star race and said, eh.
Well, and the governor of Tennessee is allowing 30,000 fans to be there for the race. I mean, and
that will look like absolutely nobody.
I understand that, but I'll tell you,
but there's still 30,000 people that get to go.
Still 30,000 people to get to go, and I think for the drivers to finally hear some cheering will be nice. I mean, there was a little bit of cheering at Talladega. I mean, would they let in like 5,000 people or something? But I think to have 30,000 people at Bristol Even though we know Bristol's got 140, 150,000 seats.
It's amazing.
Like I said, we should ask Jerry Caldwell to tell us the exact number, but he probably won't.
Listen, I know these track guys. They lie.
Well, but to have 30,000 people there, I think it's just going to be cool for the drivers to finally hear cheering, because I don't think any athlete really truly appreciates the fans until they don't have them sometimes.
Well, look, NASCAR drivers, I think we've always appreciated it more than some. But especially right now, I mean, I've only been to Talladega where there's 5,000 people, but rain delayed, extra day. You go out there, it's creepy weird when you're so used to hearing.
Well, in the past, if you had a rain delay, you'd probably you'd go out and try to sign some autographs or take some pictures of people.
Go to the T-shirt trailer.
Go do something. And all you're doing was sitting there watching television or watching the rain.
Really cool format. Next Wednesday, All-Star Race at Bristol. Going to be a lot of fun. Bettors.
Whew. Yeah,
look, I'm just going to warn you, bettors. If you want to take flyers on the All-Star race, you are more than welcome. But if you're talking to me and Jeff Motley, I am definitely just going to sit back, enjoy, grab me a cold one, and watch the race and enjoy.
Well, yeah, don't come crying to us if you're like, oh, man, he was right there. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't think necessarily.
We've wrecked each other to win at a mile and a half where you could do some real damage.
We've had some big ones in the All-Star race.
We've had some big ones in the All-Star race.
I mean, I remember the first night race ever, and Kyle Petty and Davey Allison wrecked the finish line. Davey went to the hospital instead of Victory Lane, and he won the race. I mean, this is a deal where this format it's for all the money, all bragging rights, nothing on the line except a race car that you're not even racing Bristol. Like, it's not like then next weekend you're racing Bristol. The Bristol race isn't until October or something. The Bristol race is going to be the first cutoff race of the first round of the playoffs. Hopefully, it'll be the week
that's
before
September
Las Vegas.
at some point. So you have a ton of time to fix that race car. This is going to be a lot of fun, but for bettors, I say stay away.
There might be more hot tempers at Bristol, the All-Star race, than we've ever seen at the All-Star race.
I think this is going to be fun to watch. If you want to see a fun race, that's going to be a fun one. All right, we've gotten you up on most of the news. We've kind of caught up on last week. We left you kind of in the dark on what's going to happen in Kentucky. When we come back, we're going to talk about how to win this race when we return.
NASCAR Show, live from the Sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
And once again, everybody, Brendan Gaughan here, Jeff Motley, Gaughan Racing. And now we finally get to the nuts and bolts of our show, which is talking about betting, and we always start off with the odds to win the race.
The Bluegrass State.
The Bluegrass State of Kentucky. It's going to be a great, look, I love that track. I've got to win there, and I do love that place. But so far we got odds to win this race, which is odd to me. Kevin Harvick is plus 400, the favorite on a track that he's never won at.
And I consider it the only track he's never won at because I don't count the Roval right now. But hey, he was a favorite at Pocono, and he had never won at Pocono.
True.
And he's the hottest guy on the circuit right now.
But Kevin Harvick plus 400, Kyle Busch plus 600, a guy we just talked that we're kind of fading on as far as winning races. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. at plus 650, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski at plus 800, Joey Logano 900, Ryan Blaney comes in there at 12-1, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson, and Kurt Busch all 20-1s. Eric Jones at 25 and Eric Almirola at 28. William Byron 33, but a Matt Kenseth at 40 with Clint Boyer at 40. I got to look at some guys way down there and say, I think there are some guys with value that we could do well with this week.
Well, the defending champ of the race is 20-1. Eric Jones has run really well at Kentucky. He doesn't have a lot of races. He's got about 3 races there, but he's run well in all of them.
3 top 10s in all of them. I mean, 3 top 10s, 3 races.
Outside of Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, you might even argue that Eric Almirola has been the most consistent racer over the last 6 weeks.
And we've always said, you got to be in the top 5, Motley, to be able to win races.
Right.
Eric Almirola.
And he's knocking on the door now.
He's there every week. At 28-1, that to me is extremely overpriced for a guy that's been 5 races in a row in the top 5. Now, hasn't led laps, hasn't won a lot of stages, but that right there to me is the most overvalued guy on that board.
You mean undervalued?
Undervalued.
Well, I completely agree with you. No question about it. And I think Eric Jones is a really close second to being undervalued there. But another guy that we showed up there was Brad Keselowski. He's a 3-time winner there, and he's at plus 800. And I think we go back and we look at Charlotte, we look at Atlanta, some of those tracks where are very similar and not exactly like Kentucky. I mean, and one thing that I think has to be kind of brought up here, normally by the time we get to Kentucky, we've had races at Kansas and at Chicago that are very similar tracks. We haven't had Kansas or Chicago races. This is really our first semi-flat mile-and-a-half oval that we've run on. So there's no real data points this year for a track like this.
No, but Brad has been very good there. 20th last year, but 3rd, then a 39th, then a 1st. So he is good there.
He's got 3 wins there.
There's
only been 9 races.
Another guy, though, Matt Kenseth, Kenseth, we faded him a little bit. He was running pretty. Now, Kenseth coming off 3 really good solid runs with a 10th and 11th. And then we said identical tracks. The second really looked really good. But Matt Kenseth has only missed 1 start at Kentucky. There's only been 9 races. He's got 8 starts, and he's got a win. But his last 2 when he drove in his last couple years, 17th and 19th.
Yeah, and again, Kenseth is the hard one to read. I mean, basically, I think this will be the 3rd race with the 3rd different team that he's raced there with. So that's kind of the tough thing, I think, with Matt Kenseth is, he's raced for so many different race teams. Oh, and all of his races at Kentucky, I think he's probably run for Roush and run for Gibbs and then came back and run for Roush again. And now he's going to be running for Ganassi. So he's a little bit all over the place there.
He was Gibbs, 15, 16, 17, 18 was Gibbs, and then Roush in was there 2 races? Oh, there was 2. No. 16, 17, 18. Yeah, there we go. He didn't run 2019.
He did not run in 19. Okay, so Kentucky, I guess Trevor Bayne got replaced after that, or I can't remember how that whole thing. Kenseth's been in and out for the last several years. A
really good one right there to win the race. I still, with his current performance, and we always say, what have you done for me lately? Matt Kenseth has done a lot more for me lately. With this style race car, with this style the 550 Aeroduct package, he's done really well lately.
Well, and the other thing about Matt Kenseth is, look, you have to believe that when Chip Ganassi asked him to come and replace Kyle Larson, there had to be a little bit of nervousness, maybe a little bit of hesitation. And I think now that he's gotten more races under his belt and to have a good run like he had at Indianapolis by finishing 2nd, I think Matt Kenseth is probably starting to get his confidence up even higher. And I think Matt Kenseth probably feels like he can go out and challenge for wins right now.
What about 2 guys, though, that we normally have been talking about a lot lately and have not talked about at all today, which is Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney? Yeah, they're on that first page, but
Yeah, it's kind of like they won a couple of races and said, "All right, we're in the playoffs now. We're gonna go chill out for a while." Because I tell you, Ryan Blaney shockingly was not good at all at Pocono, and Indianapolis was kind of a weird situation because he got caught up in that accident, that crash on pit road early in the race. So
I mean, those numbers right there, they were hot. You even said hottest in the sport.
Well, they're coming back to a track I think they'll do well on.
All right, we got through the odds to win the race. When we return, we're going to get into the DraftKings top 3 and some more on Gaughan Racing.
Back to our weekly NASCAR show, live from the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
Welcome back in, everybody. Brendan Gaughan, Jeff Motley, Gaughan Racing, still here at the VSiN studio. Top 3, Mr. Motley, for Kentucky Speedway this week. Some usual chalk at the top.
Usual chalk, but no negative numbers.
Nope, no negatives.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of positive numbers this year.
We haven't seen any negatives yet this year. No. Kevin Harvick is your favorite at plus 120. Kyle Busch plus 165. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. at plus 175s. Chase Elliott 200. Brad K been bet down to 210. That's a interesting number there. Joey Logano 250. Ryan Blaney 300. Alex Bowman 500 with Jimmy Johnson there and Kurt Busch both 500s. Now we're getting into where I see some massive value. Eric Jones plus 600, Eric Almirola plus 700, William Byron and Matt Kenseth at plus 800. Clint Boyer 10-1, Christopher Bell 12-1. Matt DiBenedetto, Tyler Reddick, both guys that we've been talking about doing really well, 16. And even Cole Custer, who had a great race last weekend at 25-1.
Yeah, I don't think we're surprised to see who's at the top. I like seeing those positive numbers. Yes, it does look like there's money coming in on Brad Keselowski, and I can't say that I blame people. I think Brad's a guy that he's kind of been quiet the last few weeks. I mean, he's been up there, but he's just been quiet. I think he's had pretty good runs, even at Pocono and at Indianapolis. He just hasn't really been up there challenging for the win. So I would not be surprised to see Brad Keselowski be a guy who has a really strong run this week.
But seeing a guy like Eric Jones, Eric Almirola, and even Matt Kenseth coming off of three such strong. I mean, look, Eric Jones crashed top 3, running top 3 crashed. Really fast lately, really good at Pocono.
Yeah, and
Kentucky.
And the other thing about Eric Jones right now, I mean, Eric Jones he's kind of racing for his job. Eric Jones is a little bit, I mean, his contract is up at the end of this year.
Oh, is this contract year?
Yeah, his contract is up. There has not been discussions about extending it, at least not that's been made public. And I think he's even publicly said that, he says, I just need to do the best I can and hope everything falls the way he wants it to fall. And, you don't necessarily know what does Toyota have in mind for Christopher Bell. Do they want to move him over into one of those 4 top Gibbs cars, and maybe there's somebody else they want to move in. So I think Eric Jones is kind of racing for his life right now.
Well, and we talked last week, we showed Eric Almirola for a top 3, and Matt Kenseth were both double-digit. This week, plus 600, plus 800, but I still like those. And I still like Matt DiBenedetto. Matt DiBenedetto's a guy that has been running strong, was running strong last week at the end of the race, went for a little bit too much on the last 2 corners.
And I hated that because I really liked Matt, but that was his fault. He
knows it. He put it in there a little too deep. He's never really done well at Kentucky. Does have a 16th place finish last year.
He's in the best car he's ever taken to Kentucky.
But he had his best finish last year at 16th. With Levine. So
right. I think sometimes you got a guy like Matt DiBenedetto, who's certainly in the best car he's ever been in. It's really kind of hard to look at past history. And I know that's redundant to say past history, look at history.
But it is true.
And I say the same thing a little bit about Eric Almirola. Eric Almirola, the last 2 years he's raced for Stuart Haas, he's had his 2 best finishes that he's had at Kentucky. And before that, he raced for Richard Petty Motorsports. Of course, he missed the 17 race when he broke his back. But I think you look at a guy like Eric Almirola, he's also having the best year of his career.
Yes, he is.
So it's like,
even though he hasn't won,
but I think, and he did get some wins when he was with Richard Petty. I think one of those might have been a rain delayed, or he was out. I know he was out in front, I believe, in one of the restrictor plate races. But Almirola's got to be a guy that goes to the racetrack every week right now saying, I got a chance to win.
Well, and DraftKings has no field for the top 3 this week. They anybody in the longer shot numbers. I mean, Austin Dillon 25-1.
You think this is the first time that Quinn Half and Josh Bilicki have ever had a line put on them?
They're only 400-1. That's
only 400-1.
Only 400-1.
I'd save my one.
I'd save the one. But I mean, other than looking down, John Hunter's been running well, but I don't see top 3 out of him. Michael McDowell at 250 though. Michael McDowell has been running top 10 consistently.
Yeah, there's something about that team. That team has been better this year. And
way better. With John Hunter Nemechek and Michael McDowell there, they are running really, really well.
Yeah, I don't know look, that team maybe they're a year away from really having something stepping up and becoming one of the teams that can contend every week. So, I think 250-1 is a pretty crazy number to throw on a guy like Michael McDowell.
That to me might be worth putting $1 on.
Yeah, that one might be worth the $1
because he's been running well enough for me to say, got to run before you can get a top 5. You got to be top 10s. Well, guess what? He's running top 10.
And he's had some top 10s
most every week.
He's been really good.
So I do like that one right there. All right, let's get into the matchups real quick here. Not a whole lot of excitement. Last year we were excited. We had a lot of cool matchups to go to. This weekend, nothing super sticking out to me. The only one that I'm looking at that I really like, Eric Almirola minus 130 to a Clint Boyer plus 110. Eric Almirola has been running better than Clint Boyer every week consistently. Period. No, Clint Boyer hasn't been near him. So I like that minus 130 for Eric Almirola.
Yeah, that was a pretty good number. You know me, I kind of like to look for the plus sign, say who's the guy that's on the plus sign who I'll look at. And, there's a lot of love being given to Kevin Harvick. And I know this has not been his best track. In fact, this may have been his worst track. You've got a guy like Martin Truex Jr. who's got multiple wins at Kentucky, getting pluses against Kevin Harvick. Denny Hamlin, who I think Denny Hamlin is actually the hottest guy on the circuit right now, and he just got very unlucky with the blown tire last week, getting a plus sign on Kevin Harvick. And Denny has been pretty strong on these type tracks lately. And Chase Elliott is also at a plus 105. And I think Chase Elliott, what we've seen him do on some of these mile-and-a-half tracks, how well he ran at Atlanta and his win at Darlington, I just, and how well Chase Elliott ran at Charlotte, I just think that, I don't know, those guys getting plus numbers against Kevin Harvick, I kind of like some of those.
There's a name you're not mentioning, and he's on a plus line. Martin Truex Jr., plus 105 to Kevin Harvick.
Well, that's what I said. I said those three guys.
But you didn't mention Martin. Like, let's talk about Martin Truex Jr., though. Martin Truex Jr., last 3 races, first, dominating fashion, and 19th last year where he had, ran into some problems. But first, this guy, I mean, mile and a half in the last 3 years.
He's really good.
His name was synonymous with mile and a half.
And just because he has been bad the last 2 weeks with the Pocono doubleheader in Indianapolis, I do not believe there will be any carryover of that. To Kentucky.
Led 52 laps 2 years ago, 174 last year, then 0 the next year. So he had a bad day. That happens. You're allowed to have a bad day.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back and probably look and see what happened, because there's no way that he was just out to lunch. He was not out to lunch. I don't think that would have happened.
I don't disagree. I do like Martin Truex at a plus 105, even though it's up against Harvick. I think that, look, Harvick is great, but Martin Truex Jr. at this racetrack has been better, a whole lot better recently.
Yeah, I kind of said the same thing with Pocono. I wanted Kevin Harvick to prove to me that he was going to.
He could do it. You said that on air. You said, I want him to prove before I jump on him.
But one thing that we did say about Pocono, Kevin Harvick over the last 10 races at Pocono, before that doubleheader, he had the second most laps led.
Yes.
He just had one.
He's had one.
He has not had that kind of success at Kentucky.
He's good. He's runs well, but not. That's the.
He's only got one top 5.
That's the. I'd kill for
9
that
races.
running well.
9 races. He's
Understood.
got one top 5.
1 top 5, 6 top 10s. I would kill for that record, but it's not a record that makes me want to bet him, even though he's the hottest guy in the sport. All right, we got through the top 3s. We got through the matchups. When we return, groups.
back to our weekly NASCAR show, live from the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
Just a reminder, if you missed anything from today's show, you can download the Gaughan Racing podcast today. We're podcasters, Motley. Not only is it free, but you can download and listen to the show before it airs here on VSiN. The new Gaughan Racing podcast is available via Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, and Stitcher. And, of course, at vsin.com/podcasts.
Stitcher?
Stitcher.
What is Stitcher?
We're big-time podcasters. You need to know this.
So tell me what it is.
Isaiah, what's Stitcher?
Isaiah knew
It's
what
another
that
podcasting network, guys. Come on.
Isaiah knew what DVP was.
Yeah, we're doing very badly when it comes to. I know iHeart, I know Apple, Google, Spotify.
I know all that.
Stitcher.
Yeah. Stitcher, that was a new one for
We're
us.
superstars on Stitcher.
We're old.
Yeah, we are.
See, Brendan, that's
we're
what we
showing
don't
our
notice.
age.
Yeah, we are.
All right, let's talk about our group matchups. The last thing that we love to bet more often than most, and we'll start right into Group A, which come on. Kevin Harvick is the favorite, plus 245. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., and Brad Keselowski, all of them at plus 275.
So let's see. There's been 9 races at Kentucky. You've got 7 of the total wins
right there
in that group, and Kevin Harvick is not one of them.
And he's the favorite, and he's not one of them. Mm-hmm. But we talked about fading Kyle Busch, okay? We said Brad Keselowski has not been as strong.
I'm telling you, this is the week that if Kyle Busch doesn't produce this week, we get worried about Kyle Busch.
Oh, God. Same thing you said about
No.
Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick started winning by this time last year. I wish you guys could see Brendan's hand motions on the radio.
They can see it on the VSiN. They can see it on one of these things.
Okay. But we'll see.
I would say Martin Truex Jr. to me, based off how well he runs there, the fact that Kevin has not run as well, and I'm fading Kyle and I'm fading Brad, I do like a Martin Truex Jr. right there.
Okay.
So I'm not saying I'm picking it. I'm just saying I like that.
I honestly believe this is the week that Kyle Busch gets his act together.
All right. Group B has Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin both at plus 255, Joey Logano at plus 275, and Ryan Blaney is the dog at plus 285.
I think the first thing that kind of jumps out at me there is Denny Hamlin in Group B.
Well, no, I mean, look, like you said.
Now, where are you going to put him in Group A?
Look at the rate, the number of wins in that Group A. But I look and say Denny Hamlin's tied as the co-favorite with Chase Elliott. I think that line moves before you get before the race. You might, if you want Denny Hamlin, jump on him now because I think that number is going to shrink as it gets closer. Denny's just been too hot to not be the favorite against those guys right there.
No, I don't disagree with you there. I mean, I just think Denny's been so consistent that
it's
hard and I don't see him blowing a right front with 5 to go at Kentucky.
Not at Kentucky. Getting into Group C, we have Kurt Busch as the favorite at plus 240, Alex Bowman and Eric Jones at plus 260, and Eric Almirola at plus 315. I am so bummed that they put Eric Jones and Eric Almirola in the same group this week.
Yeah, and their odds are long. I mean, it's almost like because they're plus 260 and plus 315,
they're enticing.
Yeah, there's a part of you that says, man, just go bet both
just
the
take
Erics.
Both.
Because, I mean, look, Kurt Busch won there last year. Kurt's really kind of struggled a little bit the last few weeks. And Alex Bowman, there was a point in time earlier in the year where I think we thought Alex Bowman was going to be like, bursting on the scene.
He did win.
And he really kind of has been kind of quiet lately.
Before the world shut down, he was running well on the 1.5 miles, the 550 tracks. He was doing well, so I can see why he's in there. Kurt Busch did win last year. He's been very good there, but I don't see that same Kurt Busch that was racing last year. He just has not been as consistent, where Eric Jones and Eric Almirola take the wrecks out of Eric Jones. He's been phenomenal. And, of course, we've talked about Eric Almirola being so consistent.
That's why I would really, really be tempted if I were better to bet both of them.
You could bet both of them and still end up on a positive. That's not a bad – I might steal that idea. I don't know. Group D. We have William Byron as plus 240, Clint Boyer at plus 260, Christopher Bell plus 285, and shocking to me, the dog is Matt Kenseth at plus 285. If you go off of the last 3 weeks,
I tell you, I really like Matt Kenseth.
Christopher Bell had a great race, one of the races at Pocono, not real good the other ones. But Matt Kenseth to me seems to me to be finally finding his.
I think he's getting his rhythm. He's getting his confidence. The team, I think he's gelling with his crew chief. He's gelling with his team. I really, really like Matt Kenseth.
I like Matt Kenseth in that one. Group E is Tyler Reddick and Matt DiBenedetto and Austin Dillon all tied as favorites at plus 240, and Ryan Newman a heavy underdog at plus 380. I can see that based off of how well Tyler, Matt, and Austin have been running. So I think the numbers are correct there. And it's very difficult for me to choose between those three. You could throw a blanket over them every week.
Yeah, you could. I think Matt DiBenedetto's just been a little bit better. Little bit better.
I agree. But still, they have a blank. I mean, look at the wreck last week was Tyler Reddick or Matt
Austin Dillon and Matt DiBenedetto running for a top 10 position.
And who was the guy that passed him for that position?
Tyler Reddick.
It was Tyler Reddick was the one right behind him. Right. So those guys are very.
There might have been several guys that passed him once they got into the wall.
Well, yes, but the first one there was Tyler Reddick. He was right behind him. So it's very difficult for me to pick Group E on that one. And then our usual Ron Flatter group. Ron Flatter will not be flattered.
Yes, Ron Flatter has been flattened.
There will not be a Group F this week because at the Westgate they had Justin Allgaier listed in the 48 car in Group F,
which probably would have had, let me guess, Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, and Justin Allgaier. I'm just guessing.
I did not see it before it was taken off the board. Isaiah's kind of nodding his head that we were probably.
Was I pretty close?
I recognize three of those names because when I first did this, he was there. I think three of those were correct.
Yeah. So
I mean that would have been the Group F. Maybe Chris Buescher could have been in there. Maybe a Ty Dillon or something.
Whoever,
But they took Group F off the board, of course, because Jimmy Johnson is now back in the 48. So that is a no action. So we have no Group F this week. So we have gone through all of our group matchups. We've gone through our top threes, the odds to win. We've done it all. Now all we have left to do is talk about
last week's picks.
I don't think we need to talk about last week's picks.
Well, you did well too. I think it's important.
Well, we did do well.
I think it's important to note that if the people who watch us or listen to us had followed our picks last week,
nobody was a loser.
Everybody would have been eating steak dinners.
So I came in third I got Kevin Harvick to win, and I got Matt Kenseth to win Group E. It gave me a positive 3.4. Eric Jones, of course, was such a bummer with that deal, but he would have been great on both of those, I think. And Denny Hamlin, I had the plus 150, but I'd rather win the Kevin Harvick because that paid more than the Joe Gibbs Racing. That was my hedge. Mr. Jeff Motley, he hedged. He had two winners. I had one winner out of the horse race. I picked one and got one. Mr. Motley picked two horses and got one, but they were both first and second. So he got Harvick to win. He also got Aric Almirola top three, which was big for him. And then Karina, which is why she should be happy that she's just downstairs.
She's in the basement today.
Not, like Isaiah was. Yeah, better than Isaiah, who is thankfully back with us. But she got Matt Kenseth top three. She got Kenseth to win Group E.
She just basically hitched her wagon to Matt Kenseth.
And it worked out for her.
He brought it home for her.
So because of that, we start, and I get to lead the way on my picks. And I'm going to
too fast. Remember, I have to write your picks.
Yeah. We got to go slow for Motley. Well, and I only have 3 picks so far. So first, I'm going to go into the top 3. I like Eric Jones and I like Aric Almirola. I like the Arics. I think those two right there both can give me a very, very good shot at what I'm looking for. So I'm going for both of them. And I'm also going to go with Matt Kenseth. I'm riding the 3 hot horses. I'm going Matt. No, you know what? I'm not going to go Matt Kenseth there. I'm going to take Matt Kenseth to win Group D. So I got Eric, and Kenseth to win Group D. Then I'm going to go on the Jeff Motley side, which is I'm going to pick 2 winners. I'm going to go with this week a Kevin Harvick to get his first win, and I'm going to stick with Denny Hamlin, but those 2 right now are just too hot to not. I'm going to try to do the Jeff Motley and get both of them.
Well, I felt really comfortable about having those 2 guys last week at Indianapolis with Denny and Harvick. I don't know that I would feel nearly as comfortable to try to pick anybody like 2 drivers to win this week. So I am going to take a race winner, a guy that has run really well on mile and a half. I do believe he's going to bounce back. He's not been in the main contention. Chase Elliott.
I knew you were going to go Chase Elliott
to win at plus 800. I'm going to agree with you on Eric Jones at plus 600 to get a top 3. So you and I will not be able to gain on each other there. And then my other 3 picks, I'm going to go into the group matchups. I'm going to kind of hedge that Chase Elliott bet a little bit and go Denny Hamlin at plus 255 in Group B. I'm with you. I can't leave Matt Kenseth at plus 285 sitting out there in Group D. So I'm going to go Matt Kenseth plus 285 in Group D. And I'm going to go over into Group E, and I'm going to go with our buddy Matty D. I like DiBenedetto there in Group E.
So, Karina, who is witness protection, afraid to be on camera. Isaiah is not. Isaiah is back. We love having him. Glad you're feeling good.
Thank
Isaiah,
you.
please lead the way.
Yeah, so first off, we're going to go with Almirola top 3, Ride the Hot Horse, as you guys have said. Plus 700. It keeps going down, but I think there's still value to be found there. Going to also stick with Almirola in Group C at plus 315. Don't know that he should be the long shot there. Also, we're going to go with Matt Kenseth in Group D.
Yeah, everybody's in it.
Yeah, so no, we're all kind of with the similar picks here,
He's
but then I'm going to go
blow
with
an engine on lap 5.
Yeah, no doubt.
Going to go head-to-head here. Hamlin over Harvick. I think Hamlin would have had it last week had he not blown that tire. A little bad luck there. And then finally, I'm going to go with a little bad beat revenge here. Last week I had Kenseth to win at 200-1.
Ooh.
So I'm going to follow it up with a 40-1 this week. Not as great as odds, but 40-1 to win the race for Matt Kenseth.
He said I had him to win last week.
I think that meant...
Did Isaiah pick for Karina? Is that what we're hearing?
But I think he meant he had a Kenseth to win, as in he
pick.
went to the South Point to do what I am not allowed to do.
Something you're not allowed to do until you officially retire.
That's right. These are all, once again, Steve Phelps.
For entertainment purposes
only for me. Well, there's our show today, Gaughan Racing, Mr. Motley. That wraps up. I think we're going to have another race fans weekend at Kentucky.
Smorgasbord of racing at Kentucky. 2 Xfinity races, truck race, ARCA race, which can be a lot of rubber on the track, by the way, before the Cup race Sunday. And then that crazy all-star race we're going to have on Wednesday night at Bristol.
Ton of fun this week. Isaiah, welcome back. We appreciate having Isaiah back. Hopefully he stays for a few more weeks and we don't have to harm him any further than we already did.
Big shout out to Karina, though, who stepped in. Really thankful for her and everyone else downstairs.
Yes.
Kind of stepping up and filling in for me.
We always appreciate the guys downstairs. Trip behind the glass, also all our crew. They do such a great job for us. They take care of these two guys, which, professional is a term used loosely. See you next week again on Gaughan Racing.